Hello and welcome to the local campaign helping voters make an informed choice in the upcoming municipal election. I'm your host, Haley Zimak. Tonight we have the Cambridge Ward 2 debate. Cambridge's 2nd Ward is located in the northeastern portion of the city. Its boundaries are comprised of Pushlands Township to the east, Pine Bush Road to the south, Hespeler Road to the west, and the Speed River to the north. Ward 2 contains the East Hespeler and Hespeler Village neighborhoods, as well as Hespeler Memorial Arena. The candidates vying for this council seat are Jay Brown, Jeff Richardson, Janice LaJeunesse, incumbent Mike Devine, and Giannis Kimstow. Speaking order was drawn before the debate, so with their opening remarks, here is Jay Brown.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Jay Brown, and I'd like to thank Rogers TV for the opportunity to introduce myself to the residents in Ward 2 and everyone across Cambridge. I was born in Cambridge, and today my family and I live in Ward 2 on Queen Street West, the same home my grandparents lived in for roughly 66 years of their 71 years of marriage. Hespeler is home, but I also have family in Preston and Galt. Cambridge is our home, and I am honored to be running for its council. This summer, the opioid and homeless crisis and its impact came to light in our ward. I attended many of the first walks to see the effect of these crises. I continue to do so. We quickly realized that it did not just happen this summer, but has been around for some time. It was this summer that the citizens had had enough and began speaking out through social media and organizing non-vigilant gatherings. We as elected city officials must come up with a plan as we work towards more affordable housing, mental health, and rehabilitation facilities. As we petition to other levels of government, we cannot wait for their aid. We must act now. Neighborhood and street safety are of great concern to me. I want to start by looking at our school zones and make sure they are safe for our children. We must have appropriate speed limits and enforcement. Thefts have increased in our ward, and we need police to have a greater presence during high-risk theft times. We need more bylaw enforcement on our streets. This will give us more eyes in our community. Our youth is also very important to me. Throughout the year, we have many programs run from our local neighborhood associations and have many parks for families and children to enjoy. But it is our teens, our high school students that I feel have been forgotten. We need to ensure that they have adequate local facilities and programs to keep them active and engaged. This group is highly susceptible to drug abuse and other negative activities. We cannot look at building up just one area of Cambridge with larger facilities at the cost of the ones in our backyards. As your elected ward councillor, I will help our city grow and prosper, but not at the cost of our local neighborhoods and communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Jeff, go ahead.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank Rogers for holding this debate and my fellow candidates for participating. My name is Jeff Richardson, and like you, Ward 2 is my home. I've lived in Hespeler for close to 30 years. My wife, Pat, and I have had an opportunity to raise our 2 sons, David and James, in this great, fantastic neighborhood. And I know and love the pride we all have in our community and truly believe the value of connecting residents with the community and the city. Providing this type of leadership is important because, like many residents, I believe there's a growing disconnect between the residents and members of City Council. For the last 20 years, I've worked in research and public policy, providing technical support and assistance on public policy issues and economic and financial analysis. In addition to those roles, I've been appointed since 2008 by the Ontario government to the Financial Services Tribunal, which is an adjudicative tribunal. I am also a trustee on a number of large pension and benefit plans with assets in excess of $400 million. These experiences have helped me develop strong and credible skills in advocacy, public policy, administration, governance, and adjudication. These skills will assist me in advocating on your behalf as councillor for Ward 2. If elected, I will bring responsible budgeting, evidence-based decision-making to City Council. I know the residents want to see value for money when it comes to the taxes they pay. I hope I can count on your support on October 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice.
Hello, and again, I'd like to thank you as well for this opportunity to represent Ward 2. I am Janice LaJeunesse. I have lived in Hespeler for 62 years. I have been employed in St. Hespeler at St. Luke's Place for 42 years. I am running for councillor in Ward 2 because I've always enjoyed participating in helping my community. Now I have reached a point in my life where I am capable of doing even more for our Hespeler. We built our house in Hespeler in 1982, and I still live in the same home. I am proud to say that I raised my sons in Hespeler, and they are raising their daughters in Hespeler as well. I was an active supporter for the Hespeler minor hockey teams as both sons played travel hockey. I took the lead in organizing the weekend tournament for the Ontario Hockey Federation Championship in 1997. Now I am taking an active part in the Cambridge Roadrunners in support of my granddaughter. My sons both played for the Cambridge Minor Football Association, and again, I participated on their committee. My husband passed away when my sons were both very young, and I immediately became a single parent. I am a member of the Cambridge Highlands Lions Club, which is based in Hespeler. We have organized many fundraising events, and we humbly support many members of our community. Over the years, I have raised $1 million+, which has always gone back into Hespeler. I took the lead in fundraising $120,000 for St. Luke's Place Home for Seniors first van. I sat on the board for the Pain and Palliative Care team based out of Kitchener. I fostered for the Ontario Boxer Rescue Association. I foster raise puppies for the Lions Foundation of Canada, which I raise and provide basic training for the first year of their life. I organize an annual dog walk at Salt Park in Hespeler in order to provide these $25,000 dogs free to Canadians in need of one. Annually, I host 2 youth from other countries to come to our country. I regularly attend the Hespeler Baptist Church.
Thank you, Janice. Mike, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank Rogers for hosting the debate for the Ward 2 candidates. My name is Mike Devine. It has been my absolute privilege to represent the residents of Ward 2 on Cambridge City Council for the last 4 years. As a first-term councillor, there is a learning curve, and it takes a while to feel comfortable. I'm a lifelong resident of the city. Since being elected in 2014, City Council has been my full-time job. I'm a tool and die maker by trade. That teaches you logical thinking and critical thinking. Since being elected, I've worked with many residences and community groups and city staff to improve safety in our community. Example, Town Line Road and Ellis Road. Changed from a two-way stop. Traffic light was installed 3 years ago. This had been probably the most dangerous intersection in Cambridge, if not the region. Queen Street and Cooper Street. Changed to a three-way stop to improve traffic flow on Queen Street and create a much safer intersection in the downtown core. That's just to name a couple of the issues. Co-chaired the committee to establish the Hespeler Village Market, which has helped bring back a sense of community to Hespeler and has helped to revitalize the downtown core. Growing up in Hespeler, the Junior C Shamrocks were the fabric of our community. Local residents would meet at the rink, watch the local kids play on the Junior C team. After almost a 40-year hiatus, the team is back in Hespeler with the first home game played September 15th. As your counselor, I was able to work with city staff and the Junior C Shamrock executive to help make this happen.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much for your time.
And Jonas, go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Jonas Kimstow. I was born at the Galt Memorial Hospital back in 1955. That was a time when internet didn't exist. That was a time when black and white TV was still around. Things were a lot easier back then. It was a quieter time, but things have changed a lot since then. It has gotten a heck of a lot faster, and our pace in life has gotten a lot faster. And the issues presented to the city and that need to be managed on a daily basis have grown exponentially, along with the population, of course. My parents were immigrants. They came from a little country called Estonia. They actually escaped from Estonia back in the mid-40s. At that time, Estonia was being taken over by the Soviet Union.
And my mother escaped on a little fishing boat to Sweden and was fortunate enough to immigrate to Canada a few years after that. My father fought against the Russians and was injured and spent the rest of the war in German hospital camps, and eventually ended up in Britain and immigrated to Canada as well. When I went to school in kindergarten, I couldn't speak any English. I only learned Estonian at home, and because there was no TV and no internet, there was no place to learn it. So I learned everything I did from school and the education that I was provided. So I want to thank the democracy that we have here. I want to thank Rogers, of course, but much more so the democracy that allows me, somebody like me, to run in this election, which is fantastic. I've lived in Galt, Preston, and Hespeler at various points in my life. I have 3 children. They all have careers and are doing very well. Hespeler, which is in the ward that I represent, has numerous issues in front of it. I know all of the other 4 candidates named many of them. There are a couple that are on my top list, and we'll get to those shortly.
Thank you very much. And we're pleased to begin the question and answer period now, and we are welcoming Cambridge Chamber of Commerce President Greg DeRocher. Greg,
Thanks,
welcome. And go ahead with your first question,
First
please.
of all, I want to thank and congratulate all of you in putting your name forward for public office. It's not an easy thing, and sometimes it's not a very fun thing to do. But I do want to make sure I express my personal as well as the Chamber's thanks and gratitude for doing that. That's what makes a good, healthy democracy. Our first question is, do you think our core areas are healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
And Jeff, we'll start with you.
Good question, Greg. Yes, generally speaking, I believe that the core areas are healthy and successful. However, the 3 core areas never really travel in unison, and each of them is in a different place on the success scale at any given time. There's always more work that can be done in each of the cores. In my view, Hespeler Core is in the best shape that I've seen in my 30 years as a resident. Queen Street is filled with great shops and places to dine. The streetscaping has made a big difference. However, I believe the most significant factor is the development of the American Standard site. People are now living in the core, which can only help business grow. I believe we'll see similar resurgence in Galt at the completion of the Gaslight District. The waterways in all 3 cores are key to their continued growth, so we must continue to maintain and develop these important community assets. We need to address any parking, public transit, and safety issues that may exist in the cores so that residents can continue to have safe, reliable access to the downtown cores. If elected, I'd work with the BIAs to continue development that meets each of the cores' needs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Janice.
I love our rivers. The colorful lights at night are breathtaking, and the pictures are posted on Facebook for everyone to enjoy. Forbes Park has always been a center of activities for me and my children, and was once a wading pool for them, now is a sprinkler pad for my grandchildren. We have free musical festivals that are often held in the park. Of course, I enjoy watching everyone outside Pokemon hunting. I love when people initiate community activities like searching for Hespeler rocks. I am proud of the downtown apartment building. I am proud of the team to help get the big clock above the old post office up and running. I love the Hespeler reunions. I love our Santa Claus parades. These still give us that small town vibe, and I love that. My question is, why are good restaurants not able to be successful? Parking is an issue. What can I do to help these businesses prosper? How can I help remove the stumbling blocks to make our main street more appealing for Ward 2?
Thank you. And Mike.
Yeah, I believe the question was on core areas and what we think of them. We have a unique situation here in Cambridge. No doubt, 1973, there was 4 communities amalgamated: Galt, Preston, Hespeler, and Blair. And each one of the downtown cores is different and unique. Preston has great core, good wide streets, great spot, again, along the river. We've been blessed with 2 rivers. The Hespeler core, which certainly in the last 4 years has had a lot of attention, it's been cleaned up a lot. Yeah, there's parking issues, but there's parking issues in Preston and Galt as well. So the downtown core of Hespeler will only get better. We are attracting new shops. I work with the BIA to attract new shops and new businesses. Unfortunately, we don't have a 100% success rate when a business starts up. All right, it'd be nice if we had that, but that's not the case. So the downtown core in Hespeler, it's the best it's been in many, many years, and it will only get better. The American standard, once those condos get in, for sure, going to help. And now that we have people living in the core with the apartment that's downtown, there's about 140, 150 people in that building, 150 units. So it's getting the attention, and the downtown core has come along quite well in Hespeler in the last 4 years.
Okay, Giannis?
Maybe I have a little bit different outlook on the cores themselves. I know that we live under a banner of Cambridge, and there are the 3 cores, and there is quite an expense that goes into keeping those 3 cores maintained and identified and alive, and that's good. I don't know that Cambridge would be Cambridge without those 3 cores. Each of them has their individual challenges, because this is Ward 2. I am actually concerned about some of the development that's going on in the core, particularly those apartment buildings. I'm not convinced that the infrastructure in the surrounding area can handle all of that traffic, all of the congestion that will happen at various points along the way, and does already. I'm concerned about the pedestrians. I'm concerned about bicycle traffic. There are going to be an increasing number of cars in that entire area, and they're all going to get congested in that one intersection, and that very much concerns me. Other than that, I wish there was a little bit more from a business point of view in the downtown core, in the Hespeler area. I wish there was more drawing outside people to come into the downtown core of Hespeler. In some respects, kind of like Elora or St. Jacobs used to be. There are unique things that I think it can offer architecturally, and I think it's getting the right people in there to deliver their goods. So.
Thank you. And Jay, last word to you on this.
Thank you. Greg, you asked if our core areas are healthy and successful. In Ward 2, I would have to say no. And from what I've seen in Galt and Preston, I would also say no. A big part of that is our opioid and homeless. We have to fix this. New business isn't going to want to come in unless we clean this issue up. We've done streetscaping. We've built the Riverview in Hespeler. We're building the Gaslight District. But people aren't going to want to come out of their homes unless we face this issue that's in front of us. Continuing to revitalize our rivers and our parks around there to bring people down. Bring in events in all 3 areas, and 4 if you include Blair, to bring the people down and out. We need to invest in this, and we need to look at each of these areas. But unless we clean up our city, bring bylaw in. The candidates with me have mentioned the parking. It is an issue, especially in our ward, but we have zero bylaw enforcement to enforce those parking issues. We need to look at all this to clean up our downtowns so that they can be vibrant. I do see the bigger picture. I do know we can get there, but we all have to work together, make hard, fast decisions in order to make Cambridge the city we want it to be. Thank you.
Thank you. A number of very important issues have just been brought up. So if you are elected, what initiatives would you undertake first and why? And Janice, we'll start with you.
Again, we do have a serious problem with our opioid issues. That is something that every part of Cambridge needs to address. And I'm a strong believer that it doesn't just coexist in Galt. It's definitely in Hespeler, and it's definitely in Preston, and we all need to share that. I think, unfortunately, these folks have an addiction, a health issue, and we have to look at that. They are part of the community, and we have to support them. We have to help them, and I think, again, it's a health issue, and we have to respect them as people and find a common denominator that we can help them.
Okay, and Mike?
Can you ask the question again, please?
I said, what is your, apologies, if elected, what initiative would you undertake first and why?
Well, for that's a tough one because there's multiple issues out there, and the opioid situation, which is province-wide, it's not unique to Cambridge. Let's not kid ourselves. With the homeless situation, that's not unique to Cambridge, but we seem to attract more people because people like to be by the river, and that's a fact of life. People always go live by the water if possible. There's safety issues, Ward 2 citywide, but there's safety issues, traffic issues in Ward 2. But I think the biggest single problem that we have in the city, and I'm talking the entire city, is the opioid and homelessness. But we do a very poor job of differentiating between somebody that's homeless, somebody that's a homeless user, and somebody's a homeless addict. That's three entirely different things. We have to, there's no magic bullet here to correct this. And we're not going to police our way out of this problem. It's almost impossible to police our way out of that particular problem. We do need more police, but not necessarily for that problem. So that's, like I say, there's no magic bullet. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. But we have to learn from other parts of the country because historically, what generally happens here in Canada is it'll start on the West Coast and migrate to. I had the fortune of being in Halifax in the spring, and I talked to councillors from all over Canada. And there was a pattern when you talk to them. There was a pattern. There's very little problem on the East Coast. But as you head east to west, greater. But we can learn from other municipalities. But there's no magic bullet. Thank you.
Okay. Giannis.
One thing that hasn't been mentioned yet are the tax increases. I see that the budget for the next few years is showing a budget increase of 5%, a tax increase of 5% plus being levied to all of the taxpayers, assuming that I was taking a look at the right budget. I am concerned about that. That's considerably higher than what people's salary increases are for most people. We talk about homelessness, we talk about the opioid problem, we talk about mental health strains that are on people. By increasing the taxes to those levels, we're not helping those people. We're not helping anybody from that point of view. I think we need to do a better job and ask some tougher questions as it relates to the budget. I think there are things that are in the budget that probably shouldn't be in the budget. I think we need to be tougher, and we may not be able to service everybody that wants to be serviced with everything. You need the money in order to pay for everything, and I'm not sure that people are willing to open up the wallet a little bit more than what they are already, particularly with hydro and gas prices and everything else continuing to rise. I think associated with that, of course, is trying to get the community involved as far as determining what's right and what's wrong, what should money be spent on, and what should not be spent.
Thank you.
About it.
Jay?
All right, thank you. First, initiatives. A big one for me is, and even in my opening statements there, is our street safety, which includes the opioid crisis, but also the safety on our roads and our sidewalks. Ward 2 is a very old neighborhood. We have narrow streets. Houses are close to the streets. And we need to make sure that we properly implement traffic calming matters. We need to inform our constituents before we take action so that there's not a stressful environment when we do something like that. Our school zones, as I mentioned in my opening remarks as well, is something we need to look at to reduce the speed, but enforce it. It doesn't matter what speed we set or what measures we put in place, but unless enforcement is there, people won't abide by the rules. And that enforcement doesn't always mean a police officer. We have been given the authority as a municipality to lower our speed limits and enforce them with automated radar if we choose so. This is something I would like to look at, especially in our school zones on Winston Boulevard, Adler, and on Ellis Road. Those are 3 hot spots for me. But we need to have safer streets. And once we've done that, people will come out of their homes, we will have a more vibrant community, and we'll be headed down the right path. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeff, last word to you.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's a difficult task to look at, to focus on one issue. There are many issues in the ward that could be considered by one or another as a first priority. But I think, we have to look at, in the city and in the ward, sort of a trifecta approach in the context that I believe that the lack of affordable housing and the lack of mental health supports is one of the reasons that is pushing people into substance abuse. If they don't have a decent home, a decent roof over their head, if they don't have the supports in regards to mental health that they need, they're going to push themselves in a place where they don't want to be. So I think what we need to do is look at developing and improving affordable housing in the city. I think we need to look at providing additional mental health resources. Hopefully through that we can pull some of those individuals away from substance abuse, and then I think we have to look at constructive ways to deal with the opioid crisis in the city so that we can provide some relief. And again, this is a pan-Canadian problem. And clearly, I think funding for these types of issues have to come from all levels of government. This isn't just a municipal Cambridge issue. This is a provincial and a federal issue. And so I think on these issues, on these social infrastructure issues, council needs to effectively lobby the region, the province, and the federal government to get the funding in place to provide these services. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Greg, next question, please.
You've all talked a little bit or mentioned a little bit about the opioid issue, and I think it was clearly stated that it's an issue that's, hitting and impacting virtually every single municipality. There's been contentious issue in Cambridge and talking about safe injection sites or supervised consumption sites, whatever you want to call them. Do you support an SIS in our community, and if so, where should it be?
Mike, you can start, please.
Thank you. That is a very, very contentious question. You can debate that. You will get people extreme to the right, extreme to the left. We've seen it at council. Clearly, in what we've had two councillors go to safe injection sites, and they came back with a report and some photos. The sites that they were at, they had been set up. They've been set up properly. And there's some that were just kind of all basically rogue sites, and they were terrible. As far as a safe injection site in the city of Cambridge, I would support a safe injection site at the Cambridge Memorial Hospital, because I believe they have the facilities there, they have the wherewithal. It's relatively close to the downtown. And my understanding is that users don't generally like to be able to walk any more than about 15 minutes. And that's within reach of the biggest problem area that we have in the city at this time. Now that's not to say that the problem area is not going to move. But I would support a safe injection site at the Cambridge Memorial Hospital, where there's healthcare workers, where there's mental health workers, and the wraparound service. And that would be the ideal place. Thank you.
Thank you. Giannis?
I have to agree with Mike. I think that's the logical place to put any kind of a site. You have the medical staff there, you have the education staff there, you have everybody there that needs to be there. I agree also that you have to get the people there. You have to encourage them to go, want them to go, and maybe that's where Grand River Transit has to come into play. Maybe there needs to be a bus that specifically takes people, collects them from various points along the way, and takes them there. The last thing we want them to do is go back onto the trails. We don't want them to discard their needles where they shouldn't be. That has already created all kinds of havoc and problems. That's the thing we definitely want to stop is that. So I agree with Mike.
Thank you. Jay?
Thank you. Yeah, this is a touchy topic, and I get quite adamant when the opioid crisis comes up myself, as I've seen it firsthand in our ward. Today, we're not ready for a CIS or an SCS. It's not that it won't be here, but we definitely don't have the services, as you've heard many times, that go along with those type of sites. So we need to make sure that's first. If and when, yes, as Councillor Devine has said, the hospital is the obvious first choice. But I think there could be other places it would work, but as long as it's accessible, we can get the people there, and that all the resources are there for them. Education, information to all of our constituents about this has to go out too. This isn't just something we throw in place. But with the right council and the right mayor as a leader, we can come up with the answers. And we don't need to go to external committees or anyone else. We can turn within ourselves in the region and come up with an answer to this. And I'll dedicate myself as a number one priority to figuring out how we're going to solve this. And when ASSIST is ready to come in, then we can look at the location where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And Jeff?
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's a contentious and it's an emotionally charged issue. And what is clear is sort of medical evidence supports that safe injection sites are a viable option, that they help save lives, that they provide an opportunity for people to move on to rehabilitation. I think the main issue that we have to look at is sort of threefold: is funding, location, and ensuring also that there's as was mentioned by some of the other candidates, that there is adequate funding in place for additional wraparound services to provide support within the community. And I think it's important to look at that because not only, safe injection sites also help offset some of the hidden costs that are associated with the opioid crisis, the response times for police, ambulance, and fire to overdoses, the hospital costs for treating those individuals. So I think a safe injection site is a viable opportunity to provide assistance to people involved in this crisis. I think at the end of the day, for me, location, I'm not married to the hospital. I think it makes sense. But at the end of the day, I think we have to find a location that is going to be utilized by those who are going to use the service and is agreeable to the larger public, right? And if that, through consultation, turns out to be the hospital site, I think that's fantastic. If that turns out through consultation with residents in the city to be some other site, then I think we'd have to focus on that. Thank you.
And Janice?
So I'm a little confused. I thought these drugs were illegal. I didn't think that they were supposed to be out in the public where other people are watching these injections. So I do not support injection sites. These residents have a very major health issue, and they still are part of our community. We do not give up on them, but we don't enable them either. This is a very complex debate, and putting you first, I would be honored to be asked to be a committee member on this team representing Ward 2 and Cambridge. We need to postpone with the supervised injection site for the sole purpose to organize a team for a better, successful solution, not for stalling purposes. Thank you.
Thank you. How would you help council to develop a strategy for bringing new business to the city? Giannis, can you start, please?
Goodness, tough question. Not a business person. Don't know, in all reality. I think there's lots of business people out there. We have currently all kinds of business people that are doing extremely well. They have the answers. They are the ones that need to be asked, questioned, looked at as far as answering that question. I don't have an answer for that. I really don't.
Okay, Jay?
Yeah, so bringing business to Cambridge. First thing I do is consult someone like Greg in our chamber and work with them and get their experience and input on what their successes and not so successful endeavors and for what they've done already, which has been exceptional for the Cambridge area. Again, back to many of the issues we have, we need to continue to build a vibrant city. Business will want to come here. We're seeing in Ward 2 new fast food chains coming in because they see a growth in our community. And we'll continue to have this as long as we continue to get a clean city, bring in new people to live in our areas, and encourage them that we will come out, we will shop at your locations, and that will help us bring business in. But it is consulting experts, business professionals like our chamber and others that will assist the council to bring new business in. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff?
Interesting question. I think when we look at the sustainability of Cambridge, it's more than just business, right? We have to look at the growth in the community. We have to look at the environment. We have to look at a multi-pronged approach to keep Cambridge a growing and vibrant community. And to that end, I think we have to look at it with regards to, we're a water-based community, as we've discussed earlier. We need to find ways to limit urban sprawl, to encourage smart city development, and to protect our rivers, our urban forest, and our natural areas. On the environmental side, I think we also need to look at ways to continue green development. Because those developments, green development can bring meaningful jobs into the community, and it's smart for City Hall through refurbishing and building design to incorporate those features because they provide savings on the tax basis. And finally, I think we have to look at providing ways to ensure that Cambridge is the first place in the region where people want to come and look to set up their business. And I would be willing to work with stakeholders to maintain those relationships, work to make Cambridge be viewed as the best location in the region to set up business, and work to ensure that local businesses and residents aren't excluded from some of the city contract projects and material acquisitions that are out there, right? So I think there's a number of things we can do to build business in the city.
Okay, thank you. Janice?
Do we need more residential area in Ward 2? When I read Facebook pages in general, people are enjoying the beauty of our green space and freedom of nature. I also have heard from Ward 2 they do not want high-rise buildings looking into their backyards. If we had more local entertainment for all age groups that is within walking distance or quick, reasonable priced transportation, people like to keep quaint small town vibe. Putting you first, Ward 2 will be heard. There's a definite need for more affordable housing in Hespeler. We also need to utilize the available space we have without infringing on our green space or individual homeowner space.
Okay. And Mike?
Could I hear the question again, please?
Yes. How would you help council to develop a strategy for bringing new business to the city? And obviously, as the incumbent, it's a different answer.
First of all, one of the key ingredients to bring in business to the city is looking after the business you currently have. If that business needs help, you give them help. If they pick up the phone, there's a problem, you deal with that problem. And that word gets around. When a new business is going to come to the community, there's either a building you can retrofit or put up a new building. And larger employers, particularly technical employers, when they come to the city, they will ask, do you have a dog park? Do you have a theater? My wife really likes chocolate. You got a place that makes chocolate? It's amazing what the new employers will ask if they're going to bring something to the city. We have brought a lot of business to the city in the last 4 years since I've been council. Jameson Parkway. I don't know if anybody knows, but there's a new building going out there. Alliance is called, insurance company. It's going to be occupied next year. They're going to employ 700 people. That's in Ward 2 on Jameson Parkway. The Huru DevTech out in Maple Grove Road. High-tech company. And do you know why they moved to Cambridge? Because when they talked to the city, when they talked to the building department did what they had to do to get them here, get them the permits, get things done on time. And to be quite honest with you, you have to have a city staff that's going to react quickly to any inquiries that are made. Because if we don't react quickly, some other community will. Thank you.
Thank you. And last question of the evening from Mr. DeRocher.
I got a fun question for you. This is really fun. I think it's fun.
You're gonna like it.
You're going to like it. The province of Ontario comes down and gives a $2 million grant to Ward 2. You're the councillor of Ward 2. It's up to you on how you're going to spend the $2 million. What do you spend it on?
Jay.
That's a good question. $2 million. We could look at many different things, different infrastructure we're going at. We could look at where it could go to help our homeless issue and our opioid crisis. Another smart move is put it towards our deficit. That would build over time. And we'd get the interest from that money as well, so it becomes more than $2 million. I think it would just, if we got $2 million, we'd have to, as a group, sit there and look at all the areas we could use it. We could beautify our rivers more in our parks. We could continue the revitalization of our cores, but I think as a newly elected council and with our mayor, we would just have to pick as a group the best place to use that $2 million. But there's so many different ways we could benefit from that.
Thank you. And Jeff?
Great question. I think if I had $2 million, how would I spend it? It's a challenging question, but I think when we look around the ward, there's a number of areas where we could utilize that money. In city budget terms, it's not a significant amount of money, but in real terms for working people like myself and residents of Ward 2, $2 million is a significant sum of money. I think we could focus on, for perhaps, some traffic calming features on Adler and Winston and Kerwood Avenue, right? In my door knocking, traveling around the neighborhood, residents are concerned with the speed of traffic, particularly on Kerwood and Winston. So perhaps we could use some of that money to put in integrated 30-kilometer-hour speed bumps to slow traffic down, something that's permanent, low maintenance, and long-term. We could certainly look at investing some money into Ellicott Landing and the river area to make improvements there. And certainly, there's a number of parks in the area, in the community where we can make some improvements as well. So I think there's a great number of sort of general, small-purpose projects that we could engage in that would provide real value to the community and provide a real benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice?
$2 million is not really a whole lot for a town even. $2 million, that's tax money. So it's not like it's a gift. We've already given it to the government, and now the $2 million will be coming back to us. My heart is with St. Luke's Place, and they have to come up with $9 million or they will close St. Luke's Place doors. That's our seniors. They are the only facility on this side of the 401. They could use the $2 million. Our young people, oh my gosh, when I hear the young mothers saying, I wish we had like a nice, fun, creative area, indoor, safe for young children. Other places have those. Hespeler has not got much of that. Our youth are wandering the streets because they are bored. I mean, I can remember when my kids were skateboarding and I wanted to have a skateboard park, and we would fundraise for it, and the city put that down. So $2 million spread all over those areas, it's not going to go far. But again, it is all about the people of Hespeler. And I think that would have to go forward to them, and they all have to put up their, and then vote on where they would think the money should be spent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Greg, it's my understanding these are not tax dollars you're handing out. You're just going to give us $2 million. Is that right? just checking. Just checking. Okay. $2 million. A lot can be done with that $2 million. You can put it into traffic calming measures. I don't know how sustainable that would be. You could look at putting a boardwalk from Ellicott Landing across the other side of the river, which would be lovely, absolutely lovely. I'm not sure you could do it for $2 million, but it's possible. The single biggest issue that we have in Cambridge, and it's also a Ward 2 issue, is youth engagement. That to me is an issue, youth engagement. We have so many kids, you don't see kids out with the ball glove as much as you used to, the hockey sticks as much as you used to, kicking around a soccer ball like you used to. You don't see that, which is a shame. I mean, kids gotta get outside, they have to get fresh air, they have to get dirty. They have to get dirty to build up their immunity system. If they can't sit in the house all day watching TV or doing the video game thing, I'm not sure what we're actually teaching the kid. We're sure not teaching them any stamina or any health issues. I honestly believe north of the 401, not just Ward 2, but north of the 401, we are in need of a skateboard park to engage our kids. Skateboard park, a BMX park, to engage the kids, get them out, keep them busy. And that's what I work towards. That's what I work towards. And I said that 4 years ago as well. It's not just because somebody said it here. All right? It's something that we have to get our youth engaged. We need to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Giannis?
Yeah. I too believe that recreation is the best place to spend the $2 million. We have a number of parks in the Ward 2 area. We have a few trails in the Ward 2 area, and then buffering in Ward 1 as well. There are people out there that would use those facilities if they provided more. Skate park is definitely an idea. The BMX is definitely an idea. The pool that exists at Forbes Park is great in the summertime for the little ones. Maybe that needs to be put in a few other places. Those kinds of initiatives, I think, would draw some of those younger ones out to those parks with their parents. First of all, hopefully they're safe places to go, number one, but it's going to give them let's say the background to want to participate and use those parks as they get older and age. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, time now for closing statements. So each candidate will get up to 2 minutes for final remarks. And as we started from first to last, we will now go last to first. So Giannis, you are first with your closing remarks.
Well, that's pretty exciting. So I do apologize for the questions that I stumbled over. I'll get better as this campaign goes forward. I think it's my time to give back to our community, to give back to this community. I've lived in Hespeler for 31 years now, over 31 years. That's a long time, and I've seen a lot of good, and I've seen a lot of areas that could be a little bit better. And from a professional point of view, I've learned a lot of lessons. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. Each of those has made me a little bit better, and I believe that I can use that background that I have in management and help City Council and Ward 2 and its residents make Ward 2 definitely a stronger place. I'm a roll-up sleeves kind of guy. There's no task too small. There's no question too simple or too easy to answer. I'll go out of my way to answer whatever needs to be answered. I'm a very accountable, responsible person and very transparent, and I think I'd do a bang-up job for Ward 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike.
Yes, thank you. If re-elected as your city councillor in Ward 2, I will work as hard on your behalf as I have in the past, recognizing that Cambridge City Council is a full-time job. These are not part-time jobs. There's no illusions about it. 40 hours a week is a short week. Clearly, there's a number of issues that need to be addressed in the city of Cambridge and Ward 2, because we're not getting elected to Hespeler City Council or Ward 2 City Council. We're getting elected to Cambridge City Council. And we're there to represent the whole city, not just a given sector. When you make that vote at council meeting, you're voting on behalf of the city and the residents that have put you there. Okay, so clearly there's a number of issues at Ward 2, but also in the city. Homelessness, that's a huge problem. There needs to be emergency funding from the city, region, province, and federal governments to create emergency low-cost housing. Safety on our streets, our trails. We need more officers on the streets. There's a need to hire additional officers. There's not enough police patrols in the north end of our city. Regional police have the same amount of uniformed officers they had 20 years ago. Now, can you imagine how much we've grown in that 20-year period? We still have the same amount of uniformed officers. And as I said earlier, we need to do a better job engaging our youth. We've got to keep the kids busy and not in video games. I'd like to thank the residents of Ward 2 for their support the last 4 years. I'm asking for your support for another 4 years to work on your behalf to make Hespeler a vital part of Cambridge. And please, everybody, please take your time to go out and exercise your democratic right to vote. Please do that. Thank you.
Okay, Janice, your closing remarks?
Ward 2, I believe you're going to have a tough choice on October 22nd. These 4 gentlemen and myself, basically, we all have Hespeler at heart with the same concerns. I want to make Hespeler more economical, vibrant. I agree private business and corporations do more for the community than does our government. As a line member and working for a nonprofit organization, I have first-hand experience with the capabilities of the private sector, giving back to the community. Lower taxes will allow our constituents and our businesses to allocate money more efficiently and effectively to the Hespeler community. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff?
Well, once again, I'd like to thank Rogers for taking the time to hold this debate. The questions that you raised key issues in the community, and I'd certainly like to thank the viewers for taking the time to watch this program and assist you in making an informed decision on come election day. My view is communication. Communication is an important issue, and if I'm elected, My commitment to the residents of Ward 2 is to improve the lines of communication between residents, myself, and the city. If I'm elected, my commitment to the residents of Cambridge is to improve the lines of communication between the city, the region, the province, and the federal government. These improved lines of communication will be paramount going forward. With the change in provincial government, I believe, based on early indicators, that the next 4 years are going to be challenging years for all municipal governments. Residents of Cambridge will need a strong city council, one that will lobby all levels of government to ensure funding for future growth. In order to meet these challenges, we need to see real change at City Council. We need a council that will be focused on building community projects at reasonable cost and providing value for money. We need a council that will make evidence-based decisions that support good public policy. I believe that with my experience and knowledge that I can have the right qualifications to represent you as City Councillor. I'm committed to working on your behalf as your councillor for Ward 2 to help build an affordable, inclusive, and sustainable city for the future. I hope that I can count on your support on October 27th. Again, I would encourage you all to get out and exercise your right to vote. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. And Jay.
Thank you, and thank you both for hosting us tonight. As mentioned throughout this debate, community safety is my top priority, but it is not the only thing that we must work on as your city leaders. Taxes cannot keep going up without clarity and justification. Better yet, we must look at ways of increasing city revenue and saving on current expenditures. I bring 20+ years of construction experience and over 13 years of business entrepreneurship. This hands-on experience will help with project planning, financing, execution, and completion. We must continue to beautify our river, trails, parks, and green spaces. We must continue to promote new business throughout our city. We must look at better ways of revitalizing our downtown cores, all 3 cores. As city councillors, we must be open-minded, transparent, committed, and willing to be held accountable to all those we represent. We must treat all in our city with respect and be held to a higher standard. I truly feel that I am the right choice to represent Ward 2 for many years to come and help Ward 2 and Cambridge be recognized as the great city it is. Thank you again, everyone, for this opportunity.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank the Ward 2 candidates for participating in tonight's debate, as well as for Cambridge Chamber of Commerce President Greg DeRocher for joining us as well. Make sure to watch Rogers TV on the night of October 22nd for up-to-the-minute local results. Thank you for watching, and good night.